Today we are replacing the screen on a Dell Vostro 1440 laptop. Purchase a screen from laptopscreens.com. They have an excellent selection of screens, most anything you need to find. I want to show you some of the tools that we're going to be using today. These can all be had fairly inexpensively. This is our high-tech screwdriver set, which can be had at Home Depot for about $5, along with our plastic pry tool and a magnet to get those stubborn deep screws out. Over here we have our very high-tech screw management system. This can be found at the local dollar store for around 25 cents a piece. First thing we'll be doing is removing the battery, optical drive, and a lot of screws. Okay, we'll start by removing our battery. To do that, you simply pull these two clips and up slides the battery. Okay, once your battery is removed, you'll notice two Phillips head screws here and here. These hold our hinge plate on, and I'll be including a link to the Dell teardown menu in the description so that you can get a close-up view of these screws. Make sure to deposit all your different size screws in your high-tech screw management system. Once that is done, we'll flip our laptop back over. Once you've removed the two screws from the bottom for the hinge cover, you'll then flip the laptop over. And very gently across the top with your plastic pry tool, there are 4 clips that you'll need to get underneath your keyboard and lift up very gently. This particular keyboard has a plastic bezel that goes around the frame of the keyboard, so be careful you're not pulling that up instead of the whole keyboard. Again, this will take patience, so you want to make sure you're very careful. Once you have that popped loose, gently lay your keyboard over. Inside the computer, you'll see a ribbon cable attached to the keyboard and to the motherboard. This ribbon cable very gently lifts up. There's a little clip in there that lifts up, and then you pull your ribbon cable out. Once that is done, lay your keyboard over to the side. Again, for those keyboard clips, you may want to use a Phillips or a straight edge screwdriver, a very small one, and be very careful with it. Once you have that removed, you'll then want to remove your optical drive. So there's one screw over here to remove the optical drive. Once that is done, simply put in your screwdriver and gently nudge it out. Make sure you get the correct screw. There are 2 right side by side. The one closest to the ribbon cable for the keyboard is the wrong one. Once you remove your optical drive, you'll then close the lid, lift the laptop back over. So 8 screws. If you're a beginner, or if there are a lot of screws like in some HPs and Toshibas, then I recommend taking a piece of paper and punching your screws through to mark their locations. And this is the procedure where the magnet will come in handy, because these screws are deep. So we'll take our magnet and suck those guys out. Okay, so once we've removed those screws, we're going to flip our laptop over. Let's go ahead and remove our hinge cover. And just very gently, you notice how I did that with my thumb, pop off the hinge cover. Careful not to break the little plastic tabs, or you'll wind up having to super glue everything back together. There are 2 cables. This is the power board, basically the power button. Again, these are ribbon cables. Be careful you don't break the little plastic tabs. Okay, with our plastic pry tool, we very gently lift these black clips up and remove the ribbon cables. Again, be very gentle. You do not want to break these. It will cause nothing but trouble for you at the end of the day. Okay, there are 3 additional screws we need to remove the palm rest. They're located here, here, and here. Again, you can refer to your manual that I've posted a link to find them. Okay, if you'll notice, the palm rest is just this black area. It sits inside the silver frame, which is kind of hard to tell. So what I do is I gently lift up until it breaks loose. Then you simply work your way around very gently, loosening all the clips. Once you have it loosened all the way around, it should lift out. Be careful in these top corners, because as we flip this over, you'll notice there are these little nubbins here, which are screw eyelets, so you have to kind of gently work their way out. Again, you do not want to break this. In order to remove our display assembly, we need to disconnect some cables. First one we want to do are the LAN antennae wire. These just very gently lift up. You can use your plastic pry tool if they're a little stubborn. You have to remove them from the channel. In order to get them all the way out of the chassis, we will have to remove this ribbon cable, which attaches our USB board. So we gently lift up on the plastic retainer. It's the white one, simply rotates up, remove that, and here we can take our antennae cable out. Once that's done, we need to release our display cable. That is this large cable over here on the side. To do that, very gently lift it out of the board. You might have to apply some pressure there to keep it in place. Okay. Once that is done, we have 2 screws to remove the entire assembly. One right here, and the other on the other side. Make sure to support your screen when you remove these screws, or it'll fall over. Okay, once your screws are out, you'll very gently lift the display. Sometimes you have to rock it back and forth, and we lift that out of the system. Now the easy part is over. We move on to actually disassembling the screen bezel. Make sure you have plenty of room. You don't want anything in your way. I like to use a nice piece of cardboard just in case I drop a screw. It's right there, easy to find. Okay, to dismantle our bezel, we'll start right here in the middle and basically very gently lift up, and you'll hear it start popping from the inside out. Don't freak out, it's supposed to do that. We'll want to work our way around. Again, there are little plastic clips in here. This is not held on by screws, so you want to be very careful on taking this apart. Alright, to fully disassemble the screen from the plastic frame, there are 6 screws we need to remove, 4 in the bottom, 2 in the top. We also need to remove the ribbon cable from the camera assembly. To do this, there's a very small white clip that will work out. Again, be careful you don't break it. I know most people don't even use their laptop cameras, but if you break it, I guarantee you that will be the one customer who does use the camera. So then we remove it, and there we go. The camera is disconnected. Now we'll remove the 6 screws. Again, here, here, 2 here, and 2 here. Now we'll lift the screen assembly out. Be careful of the wires running through the hinges. On the right hinge, we want to go ahead and follow the routing to remove the antenna cable. That way it's out of the way and you're not wrestling with it. Once that's done, we lift up the assembly, put the bezel off to the side. It's at this point where you really want to hope that you ordered the correct display. And if we turn that over, and turn over the new one, and you'll notice I left the plastic on there. That's because I do not want to damage the new screen. I'll take the plastic off when I install the frame. So once we flip this over, you'll want to take your video cable out of the left hinge. Even though it's on the right, it's upside down, so it's still left. And this has tape on the bottom side. Very carefully want to lift up that tape. Follow along. This is where it gets really tricky. Do not want to damage your connector. It's a very sensitive component, very easy to screw up. So we just very gently lift our tape up and out of the way. We go ahead and follow all the way up here. Now remember, it's sticky, so I simply flip it over like so until it's out of the way. Now we want to remove our side brackets. To do this, there are 2 screws on each side. Okay, at this point, we've got our screen completely disassembled. Remove this out of the way. Start working on our new screen. In this case, I'm not going to go over the complete reassembly procedure. What I am going to show you is how to put the cable back on. And again, it's very important that you be very careful with this. So this slides into this gold plug. You'll want to make sure that you get a good solid connection. Try not to touch it like I just did. and it slides up into home, just like so. You reapply the tape. You can buy replacement tape if you need to. Then we reapply our cables, making sure that they're straight because you're going to want them in the right place when you go to reassemble the rest of the screen. Okay, reassembly is exactly the opposite. Apply our hinges, put the base back together,